So good morning from Dawsonville, Georgia. I'm at a Quality Inn hotel. We came in last night. You can see on the beds here, I've got quite a bit of paperwork and my gear is over here. I will be beginning my hike tomorrow on Mount Oglethorpe, but today I rented a car and the car is waiting out there for me. So this is the quaint town of Jasper, Georgia. We're down at the end of the road there. We see the monument that once stood on top of Mount Oglethorpe. This 38-foot monument was designed and dedicated by Colonel Sam Tate of the Georgia Marble Company as a tribute to General James Edward Oglethorpe. For several years, this monument was located 10 miles east on the summit of Mount Oglethorpe. From 1937 to 1958, Mount Oglethorpe was the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail. In 1958, for various reasons, that southern terminus was moved to Springer Mountain. James Oglethorpe was famous as a leader of the Georgia colony. He was a British general, a member of Parliament, and was the founder of Georgia in America in 1733. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, Sam Tate bought land stretching from Burt Mountain to Grassy Knob. In 1928, he owned about 10,000 acres and started building what was known as the Tate Mountain Estate. He petitioned the Congress to change the name of the main mountain from Grassy Knob to Oglethorpe Mountain. This monument was dedicated on the summit of Mount Oglethorpe on October 23, 1930. Our next stop on this trip is the Eagles Rest Park. One of the areas that I wanted to explore was the Tate Mountain Estates. As you can see, there's a fence here, a gate, and I'm not able to go down in there because it is private property, but it does mention in the data handbook the Sequoia Lake, and that's what this is up front here that we're looking at. So the Sequoia Lake, the prominence about that is that Earl Schaefer, on April the 4th, 1948, his Walking with Spring book that he wrote, on the front cover it shows a picture of his backpack looking at his backside across the lake, and the mountain beyond that, which would have been High Point, mentioned in the data handbook. Because Earl Schaefer didn't have any data handbook, he only had some maps. The maps would have been like a Rand McNally map, it would have been like an oil company map. This here indicates where he took the picture for his cover of his Walking with Spring book. That would have been right here, and he was looking over to High Point over here. So while the original Appalachian Trail would have come down Monument Road here, it does talk about in the data handbook the Sassafras Mountain Old Cabin and Old Fire Tower. I'm about 3.3 miles from the top of Mount Oglethorpe approximately, so I had a spot that I could pull over. But anyways, in Earl Schaefer's book, Walking with Spring, and in his little black notebook, he does indicate that on April the 3rd, 1948, he did camp on top of a mountain. He didn't know the name of it, but there was a cabin and an old fire tower. So I suspect it's kind of up in this area because I do believe I'm on top of Sassafras Mountain. On our way up to Mount Oglethorpe, the summit, we're going to stop here first. We are within the Eagle Nest Park, and I'm going to read this. Government agencies have long suppressed the complete story about what happened to the Native Americans during the many decades of their removal from the southeastern United States. This memorial was built for educational purposes to teach those that visit this site about the events in Georgia that contributed toward the genocide of a race of people. Stephen Stone, Pickens County artist and sculptor, created the design and carved it into the marble slab donated by the Georgia Marble Company. The historical signage along the walkway and the memorial tells the comprehensive story of the removal of the Indians from Georgia. Day 1, Mount Oglethorpe to Amicalola State Park. This portion of the trail is a part of the original Appalachian Trail. And we're going to make our way 1.8 miles. Where the original Appalachian Trail would have continued straight. My hike to get over to the Amicalola State Park turns here. Tobacco Pouch Road. I'm now entering the Dawson Wildlife Management Area. That you do need a permit here, so I did purchase a fishing license. It's $10 per day and then $3.50 for each additional day. And you get that through the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, their website. But I'm going to be taking the Tobacco Pouch Trail and then down the Rocky Ford Trail and then eventually out to road walk. The Tobacco Pouch Trail, you do follow a blue blaze. Such a pretty area, isn't it? So hunters and fishermen come out here to hunt, obviously. Turkey season is coming up, but I wanted to make sure I had the dates correct. So I called the wildlife management and asked them when the start of turkey season was here in Georgia. So whenever you're out there planning a hike, it's always good to know what you're walking through. So now I'll be following the Rocky Ford Trail, which is red blaze. And I just came down the slope here. And doing research, no matter what trail you're on, you're unfamiliar with it, I have Gaia GPS app on my phone. I can see the topo lines. Read reviews from other people who have hiked these trails back in here. And I could see that if I were to go straight on the Blue Blaze, I would end up on another trail, Falls Creek Trail. And you do ford the Falls Creek a couple of times. And from what I read, one of the fords was waist high, deep water. And so I thought, well, I really don't want to do that a couple of times. and there was some rope assist going down towards Turner Trail, somewhere in that area, I think. But I went ahead and opted for this trail. It's down the arm of the mountain, the first 3/10 of a mile. It drops, I think, 300 feet from what I read. So it's going to be steep. It's not as well blazed, well, not blazed, but it's not as well trodden, maybe. So I'm just going to have to keep alert. Here we are at the Falls Creek Ford. From what I read, it was ankle deep. Rocks are slippery. But the trail then continues on up on the other side. So here we go. So here we are on the other side, and that was not ankle deep. And yes, the rocks were slippery, and now my feet are all wet because I didn't take my boots off. Okay. Trail merged with the Turner Trail, which is this orange. And I'm going to be crossing over Falls Creek. Oh, glory be, I'm at the other end. So I just walked through the entire trail system from Mount Oglethorpe. So the rest of the way will be road walk to Amicalola Falls State Park. Saying goodbye to my awesome little place that I slept last night, pitchwood tent. Making my way out to Steve Tate Road. So I'll catch you guys down the trail. Actually down the road. Still on Fawcett's Lake Road. It's a beautiful day. Look at those blue skies up there. The sun is out, and I know you can barely see it, but that's Fawcett's Lake over there. This is where Fawcett's Lake Road turns onto Route 52. And yeah, she's pretty busy. So this is where Route 52, I'm going to make a left. That's 183 coming in over here from the side. And I'm making my way to Amicalola Falls around this roundabout. And just like that, here we are at the entrance of the Amicalola Falls. So after doing several miles of road walk today, I got to the Amicalola Falls visitor center, picked up a resupply box, climbed 600 steps to the top of Amicalola Falls, and made my way towards Springer Mountain. And this is my view tonight. I have my rope hung already for my bear bag. It's a beautiful sunset tonight. So much to be thankful for. You can see the crescent moon up there. Thank you, Father, for another blessed day. Here they have a registry. You can, in that little box here, you can sign your name and the date. Here's the plaque. And there's the first place. So there are a little over 250 shelters along the corridor of the Appalachian Trail, and this is the first one. This is Springer Mountain Shelter. It is quite full. There is an upstairs. I think there are 3 up and 5 down. We do have someone tenting in the back. If you look over here, there's a privy, and then they have a bear box, and then there's a spring further on down the trail here. Coming up the Amicalola Falls approach trail, there are 2 shelters there. One at the very beginning, kind of behind the visitor center in that area, and then about 7.1 miles up, I think, is another shelter with a lot of area for tenting. So it's a cold day, it's a cold night, and everybody's hunkered in their sleeping bags, just trying to keep warm, waiting out the storm. We're waiting for the storm to come through. Day 3.